Hi kids, this is Harshvardhan Tiwari. I'm the project lead at Project Maverick. The aim of the project is to provide access to legal education, reach marginalized sections of the community in every corner of the country. The idea is to create leaders and not followers. Access must be created where it is possible, and there are small things each of us can do. And that is what we are aiming to do at Project Maverick. That is providing free training for law aspirant for all law entrants. So today, the day we are live, this particular day on 30th of June, we have received two major notifications. One is from NLU Delhi, and the other one is from CLAT Consortium. So the NLU Delhi notification, which is with respect to the exam called AI-LET 2020, which is an entrance examination to NLU Delhi, there has been a change in the seat matrix as per the decision given by the Honorable High Court of Delhi in the Balwinder Singh Sangwan versus versus the state of Delhi. And there has been a rollback with respect to the seat allocation, which was earlier as given on 14th of January notification. That is 50% reservation for students of Delhi, 22% reservation for OBC, and 10% for EWS. That has been clearly changed, and all these seats are now considered as unreserved. To mark another important decision which has been taken by the NLUD is that the paper will be in an remote proctored test format, and that will be on 18th of August 2020. And the time for the paper is 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And we are all well aware about this particular format of 1.5 hour exam. They have told that they will be providing with detailed guidelines and also with respect to a mock test. And we at Project Maverick promise you that we will come up with our mock as well. So to that end, NLU Delhi has also provided for that you can claim your refund if you want to take back your name. And there has been extension for the filling of submission of online form, and the extension is till July 7, 2020. That being said, this was with respect to AILET 2020. Now coming on to a major exam for law aspirants, and towards which we are having this particular session. The CLAT consortium was to declare the new dates tomorrow on 1st of July, but it decided to give us a surprise as it always has done over the years. So they have stated that the paper will be a computer-based online center-based test, which will be conducted on 22nd of August 2020. And they have given various other information as well. They have also stated that one can claim refund. They have also extended the date for the submission of online form, that is till 10th of July 2020. The notification of the centers will be done tomorrow on 1st of July. These are very significant changes for law school aspirant, and I've received so many texts and calls from kids across. So what I can say, and what Shubham sir will agree with me, that now the time is right. You were waiting for these dates to arrive in, and now these dates are before us, the law school aspirants. So now it's a time when you should buckle up. You should actually go into a very serious mode of preparation, and also try to solve some online mocks as well. Revise and revise. And in that particular series of free CLAT sessions, today again we have. I'm very pleased to welcome advocate Mr. Shubham Gautam. The previous session was such an amazing session. It was high on, the demand was very high. 72 kids joined us on Zoom. There were numerous questions. So we requested him to take one session more with us. So he has graciously agreed. Today he will be teaching, although he is not well, but he has agreed to take this session. And the topic of this session is negligence and nuisance, which is an important topic from the law of tort. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. So as Harsh has briefed you about the major changes which took place today with respect to AILET and CLAT examination, uh, there was a lot of uh, issues in the mind of the kids that when the exams will be conducted, in what mode the exams will be conducted, whether the exams will be conducted at all this year or not. So I think that it should come, the notification should come as a huge relief to you all, with that now you have a clarity with respect to the date and also the mode in which the examination is going to be conducted. My only suggestion would be that this is a time wherein you need to sit and give as many online mocks as possible. If you have if you have attempted mock before, also try and give some mocks, previously attempted mocks again. Try and solve at least for AILIT, try and solve the previous year's paper. And, also seek this opportunity to find a very good internet. There because there must be kids who would be living in a remote locality where there would be internet issues and various such challenges of network. So they should find a means or mechanism that when they have to come, especially for AILIT, that how they are going to give the examination from the remote location. So they need to be prepared, and that preparation should not happen just 2 days or 3 days before the examination. It needs to be addressed at the earliest. So with that addition, I will take up negligence and nuisance today. I'll be starting with negligence and then I'll be shifting towards nuisance. So in the last session, we had discussed what is tort and various, defenses for torts. Now, there are different kinds of torts as well, such as nuisance, negligence, trespass, malicious prosecution, defamation, strict liability, absolute liability. So with the various or vicarious liability. So these are various kind of torts which you need to study. It is going to help you directly or indirectly in the client examination, but it is definitely going to come very handy for you for AILIT examination. So negligence is one such tort, which basically is the breach of duty of care which a reasonable person must exercise. So tort क्या होता है? Tort is nothing but a civil wrong. So and every person is supposed to act in a certain manner, and if they have not acted in that manner which has resulted in legal injury to that person, then the offense of tort or the tort comes into picture. So negligence भी simply यही कहता है कि when someone owes a duty of care towards another person and there has been breach of that duty of care in spite, which a reasonable person must have exercised, then that will result into negligence. So basically there are three essentials for negligence. The first essential is legal duty to exercise due care. Second is breach of the said duty. And the third is consequential damages because of the breach of that duty. Now, let me explain it to you through an case example we had done in the last session, Donagh versus Stevenson's case. In that case, the concept of neighbor was discussed and also the concept of breach of duty was explained. That if a person has come and ordered a ginger beer and some snail was found floating in the bottle, so it becomes the responsibility of the manufacturer who has to take care that the bottles which we are sending across is properly manufactured, is properly packaged, people who are consuming it. When they have not exercised that due care which they should have in the normal course of business, then they're liable for the offense of tort. So this is liable for the offense of negligence in tort. Just a second. So now let us take up what is duty of care. So basically a duty of care is a legal duty rather than a mere obligation or religious or a social duty. It is a legal duty. See, a religious duty could be something else. A legal duty is something which you are supposed to follow, or which is the law, which is the norm. So if there has been a breach of that legal duty by way of carelessness, then the plaintiff has to establish that the defendant has, defendant owed a certain specific legal duty which should have been taken care by them, and they have breached that specific legal duty. So this is duty of care to the plaintiff. Like suppose you're sitting in a bus or you have to travel in the bus. Now while you were boarding the bus driver starts the bus and resulting in accident. So now there has been a negligence or a breach of duty, and breach of duty because they should have, what should have been a proper course of mechanism, that they should not have started the bus before the person had boarded it, but while he was boarding, the bus was started. So there was a breach of duty. Now if the person suffered injury because of that breach of duty as a consequential damage, then the bus driver has committed the offense of negligence. So this is basically in nutshell is negligence. Now to establish negligence, we have to first see again the concept of neighbor. That, and who are neighbors? Neighbors are persons so closely and directly affected by an act that by an act of the defendant, that the defendant must have reasonably taken into contemplation that his act or omission can cause injury to someone else. So it is about a reasonable foreseeability, that in an ordinary situation, how a common reasonable man function or react. जैसे कि हमने एग्जाम्पल पढ़ा अभी और डिस्कस किया अबाउट दी बस, कि कोई बस पे बैठ रहा था या बस पे चढ़ रहा था और बस ड्राइवर ने उसी समय में बस को स्टार्ट कर दिया, जिस कारण से जो पर्सन वाज ट्राइंग टू गेट ऑन बोर्ड द बस गेट्स इंजुरी. तो यहाँ पे बस ड्राइवर ने क्या किया? लीगल ब्रीच ऑफ ड्यूटी किया, जिस कारण से इंजुरी हुई. उस इंजुरी का कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल डैमेज सफर किया गया, तो फिर नेग्लिजेंस हुआ. कॉमन रीजनेबल मैन की तरह देखना है. अब कॉमन रीजनेबल मैन डज नॉट मीन अ मैन who holds a specific degree or qualification. It is given in Wensbury principle. So common reasonable man is a man who travels in an omnibus, and there's a lengthy definition for it. But in a very general sense, a common reasonable man is a man of a common prudence. So अब इसी सिचुएशन में कॉमन मैन कैसे देखता है? कॉमन मैन की तरह अगर तुम सोचोगे तो तुम रियलाइज करोगे कॉमन मैन भी ऐसे ही सोचता है कि जब तक कोई बस पे चढ़ रहा है और जब तक वो बस में चढ़ नहीं चुका है तब तक बस को नहीं स्टार्ट करना चाहिए. अगर बस ड्राइवर ने स्टार्ट किया है तो बस ड्राइवर ने गलत किया है. तो ये कॉमन मैन ऐसे सोचेगा. तो हमें जब ये नेग्लिजेंस को डिसाइड करना होता है, हमें एक कॉमन मैन की तरह देखना है कि हाँ, इस सिचुएशन में नेग्लिजेंस हुआ है या फिर नेग्लिजेंस नहीं हुआ है. तो इस चीज को हम कहते हैं कि रीजनेबल फोर्सिबिलिटी का होना. I will just type it down for you as well so that you can catch it. Reasonable foreseeability. Okay, I think chat is only a private chat or something. Anyways, it is reasonable foreseeability. So you can, if you want, you can write the definition of what is a reasonable foreseeability or what does reasonable foreseeability. So foreseeability means whether the defendant owes a duty to the plaintiff or not depends upon the reasonable foreseeability of a common reasonable man. So now इसके लिए हम लोग एक reasonable man test लगाते हैं जो कि डेवलप किया गया था in various case laws, but the prominent one I will just discuss with you, that is Dr. M. Mai Gaura versus State of Karnataka. So what had happened in this case was that complainant and his 5 children took an elephant joyride by buying tickets. Now that elephant, which was supposed to give them joyride, was a very trained elephant. It was giving joyride for the past 13 years. The elephant had also acted in various movies, and he was accustomed to sound and situations like that. But all of a sudden what happened was that during the course of the ride, because of some sound or something, the elephant went little hysterical, and because of which the complainant and the 5 children suffered injury. So now when the matter went to the court, it was to be decided whether negligence has taken place or not. So now the test of reasonable foreseeability was applied. अब टेस्ट ऑफ रीजनेबल फोर्सिबिलिटी क्या कहता है? अब आप कैसे डिटरमाइन करेंगे कि हाँ, यहाँ पे जो भी द प्लेस था जो कि क्या उसकी गलती है या नहीं है, whether the defendant is liable or not. So this was to be seen, and the test to be applied was of a reasonable man test. So it was taken into account that the elephant had a working experience in film shootings and movies wherein the elephant was accustomed to loud sound and light and situations like that, and the elephant was also giving joyride, and that no such occasion had ever taken place. So it could be inferred that when the when the defendant decided to allow that elephant to give the joyride, the defendant had not actually made any kind of mistake, because as a common reasonable man, सोचो तुम कि अगर कोई एलिफेंट है जो 13 साल से जॉयराइड दे रहा है, वो फिल्म शूटिंग्स में काम कर चुका है, वो ट्रेंड है, उसके साथ कोई भी ऐसा इंसिडेंट नहीं हुआ है, तो एक हमेशा एक प्रिजम्पशन अराइज करेगा कि वो एलिफेंट के साथ ऐसी कोई इंसिडेंट नहीं होगी. तो ये है रीजनेबल मैन टेस्ट. या फिर फॉर एग्जांपल कि जैसे फिर वही जो हम लोगों ने बस वाला भी एग्जांपल पढ़ा था, या फिर एक और एग्जांपल देते हैं, बुकर वर्सेस वॉन बॉन का. इन दिस केस द डिफेंडेंट boarded a moving train but kept the door of the carriage open. The door was opened outside. बाहर की तरफ डोर खुला हुआ था and created danger to those standing on the platform. The plaintiff was standing on the edge of the platform and was thus hit and injured by the carriage door. So the defendant was held liable in this situation because there was a breach of duty of care. And what was that duty of care? The duty of care was that the door should have been closed and the door should not have been left open. So I think reasonable foreseeability should be clear by now for you people. नेग्लिजेंस में जो है ना एक बहुत ही एक जो केस एग्जाम में पूछता है जनरली वो ये है कि सपोज दैट देयर वाज अ पर्सन सिटिंग इन द बस एंड हिज हैंड वाज आउटसाइड द विंडो एज and from the other direction another bus was coming, another vehicle was coming, or there was a pole on the road, the edge of the elbow got injured. So whether the bus driver or the conductor will be held liable or not. So देखो, एक तो क्या है कि आपको अपना प्रिंसिपल पढ़ना है एग्जाम में कि प्रिंसिपल क्या कह रहा है, and based on the fact, but the fact which I have narrated in this case, it was observed that it is a common way कि लोग अपना ट्रेन या बस में बैठते हैं तो अपना विंडो एज के बाहर अपना हाथ रखते हैं, थोड़ा तो एल्बो की तरफ हाथ बाहर, एल्बो का बाहर निकला ही रहता है. तो बहुत ज्यादा मतलब part of the driver nahi hai, but still the driver should have taken care. But if at all the accident has happened, the driver will not be held liable. Though there are different case laws, but on this, but this is one of the popular opinion in a situation like this. So, but when a case or a factual based question of this sort comes into the examination, please remember that you read the principle very properly. There is another case again which comes in the examination, that a conductor of a bus invited passengers to travel by sitting on the rooftop of the bus. The deceased sat on the bus. The driver of the bus took a sharp turn. Petitioner was injured. The person who sat on the top of the bus was injured by the branches of a tree, fell and died. So in this case, it was held that the driver and the conductor were negligent. And तुम ही सोचो ना कि क्यों negligent होंगे, क्योंकि उन्होंने किसी को बस के रूफटॉप पे बैठने के लिए अलाउ किया, जो कि उन्हें इन ऑर्डिनरी कोर्स ऑफ बिजनेस नहीं करना चाहिए था. तो उन्होंने वहां पे एक लीगल ड्यूटी का ब्रीच किया. जब भी लीगल ड्यूटी का ब्रीच होगा और उस लीगल ड्यूटी के ब्रीच के कारण से रिजल्टेंट इंजुरी होगी किसी को, तो और उस इंजुरी के कारण कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल डैमेज सफर करना पड़ेगा, तो हम उसको कहेंगे कि उस सिचुएशन में नेग्लिजेंस जो है वो हुआ है. But and liability will not arise when the injury cannot be foreseen. Like for example, a person went to a restaurant and was injured by falling off a ceiling fan on her head. So and when it was found out, when the reason for the falling of the ceiling fan was found, it was found that there was a latent defect in the metal suspension of the fan. So it was held that the defect cannot be foreseen by a reasonable man. Therefore, no, negligence. So what is it is trying to be said here, that the offense of negligence in tort will only happen when the injury cannot be foreseen. If the injury could have been foreseen, then negligence will take place. If the injury cannot be foreseen, then negligence will not take place. Another case could be the defendant's servant while uh, driving a vehicle suddenly died, which resulted in an accident and consequent injury to the plaintiff. The driver appeared to be quite healthy and defendant could not foresee his sudden death. So it was held that the accident was due to an act of God and defendant is not liable for the same. So basically what had happened in this case was that a person was driving the vehicle. All of a sudden he had a cardiac arrest. And since he lost the control of the vehicle, he injures someone else. So now it was held that whoever's car he was driving, that person appeared to be very healthy. The driver appeared to be very healthy. So it was very difficult to ascertain that the driver was actually suffering from any kind of injury or not. So, so again, what I'm trying to say here is that for an offense of negligence to happen under tort, there has to be a breach of duty, and that breach of duty should result in some kind of injury. And as a result of that that breach of duty and injury, the person should have suffered a consequential damage. Now that now the liability will only arise when that breach of duty was reasonably foreseeable by a common person. If that breach of duty could not have been foreseen by a common person, in that situation negligence will not arise. In a situation when the breach of duty could have been foreseen by a common person as a common reasonable man, then the tort of negligence will come into picture. So this is important. Now, one couple of more things I want to explain. That there could be a situation, suppose that a negligent act can happen because both the plaintiff and the defendant. For example, a person was driving a vehicle uh, at a high speed, which he should not have. So when the person is driving the vehicle at a high speed, then the person is doing a breach of his legal duty. And now suppose there was another person who was coming in the opposite direction. So even that person should not be coming in the opposite direction, but still that person was coming. Now as a result of which an accident happens. So यहाँ पे अब नेग्लिजेंस जो है दोनों के पार्ट में है. जो रॉन्ग साइड से आ रहा था उसके पार्ट में भी है, जो स्पीड लिमिट को एक्सीड कर रहा था उसके पार्ट पे भी है. तो ऐसे सिचुएशन को हम क्या कहते हैं, कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटरी नेग्लिजेंस का सिचुएशन कहते हैं, wherein we say that a negligent act has taken into place because of the contribution of both the plaintiff and the defendant. Now in such a situation we decide the quantum of the punishment, or sorry, the quantum of the compensation as a test of last opportunity. Like who had the last opportunity to avoid the accident, or who was at more fault. तो ये दो चीजें हम देखते हैं in the case of contributory negligence. There is another situation of a composite negligence. Now composite negligence जो है COMPOSITE, composite negligence talks about a situation where a negligent act has happened with the connivance of more than one people. So there is a concept of joint tortfeasor and several tortfeasor. So when more than one person commits a tort, तो उसको हम लोग कहते हैं joint tortfeasor. So अगर कुछ some people have committed a wrong, and because of that wrong the plaintiff suffered an injury, so then that is known as composite negligence. If there is any doubt you can ask. If not, we will see a situation of nervous shock in negligence. So nervous shock is basically नेग्लिजेंस में हमेशा हम ऐसा देखते हैं कि जब भी किसी को फिजिकल इंजुरी हुआ है एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ ब्रीच ऑफ ड्यूटी, तभी हम उसमें नेग्लिजेंस मानते हैं, अदरवाइज हम नेग्लिजेंस नहीं मानते हैं. But with the evolution of law, nervous shock was also taken into consideration. That because of any negligent act, if a person has directly suffered a consequential damage, and that damage is of a mental element in nature, तो उस situation में भी negligence हो सकता है. Like if a practical joke was played to a woman that your husband has met with an accident and he has succumbed to that accident, as a result of which the woman suffered a cardiac arrest. तो ये जो है नर्वस शॉक का केस होगा, बिकॉज द पर्सन शुड नॉट हैव मेड दैट प्रैक्टिकल जोक, सो देयर इज अ ब्रीच ऑफ ड्यूटी, and because of that breach of duty the lady has suffered suffered some shock, as a result of which she uh, succumbs, or she falls sick. तो नर्वस शॉक को भी हम into account consideration करते हैं, लेते हैं for the offense of negligence. बट ऐसा भी सिचुएशन हो सकता है कि जहां पे डायरेक्ट कॉन्सिक्वेंस नहीं है. सपोज if a news is showing in the television and after seeing that news someone gets sick, तो वो नर्वस शॉक के डेफिनेशन में नहीं आएगा. there has to be a direct contact, a direct proximity with the breach of duty. So this is negligence in a nutshell. One concept in negligence is of the res ipsa loquitur, which says that a thing speaks for itself, which basically means, देखो क्या होता है कि law of torts में भी at times that negligence में कि if the plaintiff is alleging that a negligent act has happened because of the omission of breach of duty by the defendant, in that situation, the plaintiff also has to prove to some extent that the defendant was liable, the defendant has committed some wrong. But there could be a situation wherein the nature of the wrong is so evident that it does not need to be proved. For example, suppose a woman goes to a hospital to get her uterus operated. While the doctor was operating her, the doctor left some cotton swabs in her stomach, resulting in second surgery. Because of the cotton swab left, she suffered some infection. Then she was, in order to save her life, second surgery was made wherein the cotton swab was taken. The wrong or the negligent act is so evident that it does not even needs to be proved. So this is the concept of res ipsa loquitur. So this is in a very nutshell for your purpose of examination, the tortious offense of negligence. If Harsh has to add something on it, Harsh, please add, and then we'll move to nuisance.
So, sir, that was very vividly explained. You actually included every example which has came so far in the law and examination with respect to negligence. Per se, what was important was that they understand duty of care, breach of duty resulting into damages, which you idly explained to us. You also told us about the very famous and the ever asked case about this doctor performing an operation and then leaving certain thing inside the body of someone, and then they're suffering from an infection for that matter. In the case of negligence, what happens is another few times there have been questions that there's a wall tower in a city that is managed by
Chandni
the
Chowk
Nagar.
case.
Yeah.
Chandni Chowk case.
Yeah.
That
So
was a clock tower in Chandni Chowk, which had collapsed.
Yeah. So उसमें नगर निगम की responsibility. फिर if a nagar nigam is managing a particular park, or and there is a poisonous tree in that park, and somebody and the nagar nigam doesn't, nagar nigam does nothing, and some child eats that particular poisonous fruit from that poisonous tree, whatever the case may be, then there is a negligence on the part of this nagar nigam. So these type of questions have came all together. Sir also took us through this particular concept of contributory negligence and composite negligence, which are a recent seen phenomena in the law and examination, and they are very important. So took us through that particular example, which mostly comes in the law and examination, is you are sitting in a bus and your elbow is outside, and you have kept your elbow outside the window. Apart from that, few there is one question which has been asked many a times is if a lady is walking on the, so can you throw this some light on this particular example? The lady is walking on the wrong side of the road, and a particular person is driving a car and the headlight of the car is not working. So this particular example has been asked a number of times. uh, so then sir took us through the concept of nervous shock, and in that particular, there is one question which has uh, which we have seen over the years coming in the topic of nervous shock, is that there's this particular lady who is pregnant, and she was walking across the road, and there is an accident on the road, and the blood has spilled over the road. uh, as soon as she saw that particular blood, uh, there's this uh,
Nervous
the,
shock and she suffers miscarriage.
yeah, that results into miscarriage rather. So whether there was whether she can claim nervous shock. So this is an example which has been asked many a times. So that is all which is very very important in the concept of negligence. Sir has already taken us through this particular thing: seriousness of injury, magnitude of injury, and consideration paid. That come under the standard of care relationship. So now over to you, sir, so that we can go through the concept of nuisance as well.
Yeah. So again, Harsh has very beautifully summarized the entire nuisance for you. The entire topic of negligence. Now we shift to nuisance. So nuisance जो है ना, वो है unlawful interference with a person's use of enjoyment of land or some right over it or in connection with it. So for example, that you have a house and your neighbor plants a tree. Now the branch of the tree protrudes through your window, as a result of which the sunlight is blocked. So अब इस कारण से तुम जो अपना लैंड को यूज कर सकते थे, like a proper sunlight or breeze or what wind or whatever, now that has been blocked. So that, you know, that interference is basically called a nuisance. So a nuisance is an unlawful interference with a person's use or enjoyment of land or some right over or in connection with it. Nuisance in a general sense could also mean a person or a thing causing inconvenience or annoyance. So at this very outset, पहले तो हम लोग देखते हैं कि nuisance and trespass के बीच में क्या difference होता है. Trespass क्या होता है कि when someone enters your property without your permission, so then that is known as trespass. So trespass is a direct physical interference, whereas nuisance is an indirect physical interference. ठीक है? Trespass can, like throwing of a stone, so that is a direct physical interference. But a tree protruding through the window is a case of indirect, indirect physical interference. Because किसी ने आपके घर पे पत्थर चला करके मारा, या किसी और whereas किसी ने अपने गार्डन में ट्री लगाया, वो ट्री बड़ी हुई और आपके विंडो में प्रोट्रूड कर गई. So there's a minute difference between the two. Also, for an offense of nuisance to happen, it is very important that the act should not be in isolation. That should be not an act of isolation. It has to be a continuous act. तभी nuisance होगा. एक दिन अगर एक पेड़ का ब्रांच आ गया, वो nuisance नहीं होगा. या किसी एक दिन किसी ने बहुत जोर से गाना बजाया, वो nuisance नहीं होगा. लेकिन for over a continuous period of time, अगर कोई आपको क्या कनेक्शन ऑफ लैंड को यूज करने में किसी भी तरह का इंटरफेरेंस क्रिएट कर रहा है, तो फिर न्यूसेंस जो है वो अराइज करेगा. सो बेसिकली देयर आर, like for example could be the defendant created a brick grinding. It's a very famous case, Dr. Ram Raj Singh versus Babulal. In this case, what had happened was that a defendant created, that Babulal created a brick grinding machine adjoining premises of plaintiff, who was a medical practitioner. Now lots of dust was generated and pollution was caused. So a lot of physical inconvenience was caused to the doctor and the patient. So in this case, it was considered that the that because of the carrying of the brick grinding activities in the adjoining premise is resulting in nuisance to the doctor and the patients of the doctor. So basically, for the offense of nuisance to take place, three essentials are required. That is, there has to be an unreasonable interference. Second, interference must be with the use or enjoyment of land. Third is the damages. ठीक है, ये तीन essentials होना चाहिए. Again, I'll repeat. First essential is unreasonable interference. Second is interference must be with use or enjoyment of the land. Third is damage. No, unreasonable interference क्या होता है? See, like ये कहता है कि interference must be unreasonable. Now, for example, if the house is on the main road, so there's obviously there will be traffic. So that cannot be said to be an unreasonable interference with the use. That honking or traffic jam is an unreasonable interference, because if the house is on the main road, then the chances of traffic is quite high. The chances of honking is quite high. So उस सिचुएशन को हम अनरीजनेबल इंटरफेरेंस नहीं मानेंगे. लेकिन जैसे कि हम लोगों ने अभी केस किया था रामराज सिंह वर्सेस बाबूलाल का केस, या फिर एक और केस हम बताते हैं, राधे श्याम वर्सेस गुरप्रसाद. इन दिस केस, plaintiff filed for injunction to restrain defendant from running flour mill in the locality. So plaintiff stayed in the first floor of the locality. It was held that the noise of the flour mill continuously amounted to nuisance. So nuisance basically कहता है unreasonable interference होना चाहिए. Reasonable interference है तो nuisance नहीं हो. देखो, जैसे कि there was one landmark case, very interesting case, Usha Bain versus Bhagya Lakshmi Chitra Mandir. What had happened in this case was that injunction was sorted to ban Jai Santoshi Ma movie. Now, Jai Santoshi Ma movie, when it was released, it was a phenomenal success. But whatever be the case, in that movie there was a depiction that goddess Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati were jealous and jealous of goddess Santoshi. So people of one segment felt that this is an assault, or the religious sentiments were being ridiculed. So यहाँ पे हमने मतलब केस फाइल किया कि इंजंक्शन को लेकर के it is causing nuisance. But in this case, it was held that it is not causing nuisance because it is because it is not an unnatural interference or an unlawful interference towards the religion of someone. So this was decided in this case. Whether the decision was right or wrong, that is not for us to debate on this platform. But the judgment, in the case Usha Bain is being told to you. So न्यूसेंस के लिए ना एक एक्सेप्शन है जो कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस रखता है. वो एक्सेप्शन है ऑफ द सेंसिटिव प्लेंटिव. सेंसिटिव प्लेंटिव के बारे में ये मतलब कहते हैं कि इफ द प्लेंटिव इज मोर सेंसिटिव देन अ कॉमन रीजनेबल मैन, देन द डिफेंडेंट विल नॉट बी लायबल इन टॉर्ट ऑफ न्यूसेंस. जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल दैट देयर इज अ लिफ्ट इन द बिल्डिंग एंड द लिफ्ट the lift sometimes you must have heard making a sound like open the door, close the door, mind your gap. So there was a lift, and the lift used to make such sounds. Now there were people living in that building. किसी को कोई problem नहीं होता था. One fine day, a person shifted. Now he had some issues because of that sound, and he felt very irritated. So उसने जो भी बिल्डिंग ओनर था उस पे केस कर दिया फॉर न्यूसेंस का, saying that there is an interference with respect to my enjoyment of the property. So it was held that the person concerned is not a very common, it is not like a common reasonable man, but he is more of a sensitive person. So न्यूसेंस का जो ओकेजन है वो सेंसिटिव प्लेंटिफ के केस में अराइज नहीं करेगा, वो अराइज करेगा only in a general circumstances, because अगर मान लो कि तब तो हर कोई nuisance का claim ले सकता है. For example, I have a problem with my neighbor. I'll say that I'll make some story and say that my neighbor is causing nuisance to me. ठीक है, तो न्यूसेंस के लिए एक कॉमन रीजनेबल मैन का होना जरूरी है जो बट अगर कोई सेंसिटिव प्लेंटिव का सिचुएशन है तो फिर वो न्यूसेंस नहीं होगा. इसमें केस हम लोग देख लेते हैं, रॉबिन्सन वर्सेस किलवर्ट का केस, ROBINSON versus Kilvert KILVERT. In this case, what had happened was that a warehouse stocking brown paper for plaintiff's business was affected due to there was a warehouse which was stocking brown papers. Now it was affected because of the heat generated by some other business running on the first floor of the same building. The brown paper business sued the other business for nuisance. It was held that any other business would not have suffered due to the heat. Only petitioner's business as warehousing brown paper would have suffered. So it was considered to be a case of an oversensitive business. तो यहाँ पे nuisance को applicable नहीं किया गया था या फिर nuisance को apply नहीं किया गया था, because saying that it is a extraordinary case of a overly sensitive business. So the plaintiff, which was the brown paper stocking warehouse, was considered to be an oversensitive plaintiff, and therefore no remedy under the nuisance was provided to them. Then there was another case of Health versus Mayor of Britain. In this case, when buzzing noise did not annoy anyone but only the plaintiff, it was held that this is a case of oversensitive plaintiff and hence defendant was not liable. So this is a case of oversensitive plaintiff, and in such a situation, the offense, the tortious offense of nuisance will not be applicable. Then there is another exception which is of an isolated act. So nuisance के लिए हम हमेशा कहते हैं कि nuisance is generally a continuing wrong act. It is not an act of isolation. So noise, vibration, smoke, whatever, you're protruding of the window, protruding through the window, a tree branch, it should be a continuous act and not an act of isolation. One incident will not amount to nuisance. For nuisance to happen, it should be continuous. So now if suppose there's a case, Stone versus Bolton. In this case, plaintiff was standing on a highway and he was hit by a cricket ball from an adjoining house. So this was not considered to be a case of nuisance because it was an isolated act. There's another case, St. Helens Smelting Company versus Tippling. In this case, the fumes from the Tippling company damaged plaintiff's trees and shrubs. Held to be an injury to the plaintiff's property and hence nuisance. Why it was held to be nuisance? Because there was a continuous, fumes which were coming to the property of the plaintiff. It was not an act of isolation. So if there is an act of isolation, the offense of nuisance will not take place. If it is a continuous act which has resulted in the interference of use of property or enjoyment of property, then nuisance will take place. So, okay, so we have done the nuisance and the essentials of nuisance. We have seen two exceptions for nuisance, that is oversensitive plaintiff and isolated acts. Now let us also see defenses for nuisance. So there are basically two defenses, specific defenses for nuisance, and जो हम लोग ने general defenses पढ़ा है in the last session, वो तो anyway defenses हम लोग nuisance के tort में ले ही सकते हैं. तो एक जो defense है वो है prescriptive, एक जो defense है वो है prescriptive right to commit nuisance and दूसरा है statutory authority. So prescriptive right क्या कहता है कि a right to do an act which would otherwise be a nuisance. For example, like if a person has continued with an activity on the land of another person for 20 years or more, he acquires a legal right by way of prescription to continue therewith in future also. So this is also called easement rights. Now suppose if my neighbor is there and my neighbor plays music and I have never objected to the music played by my neighbor. So, and for a very long time it has happened. So I cannot now come up and say that my neighbor's music is causing nuisance to me, because somewhere or the other the neighbor has also acquired a prescriptive right, and there is a statutory authority. Like suppose if anything is anything is being carried as per the statutes, या फिर by the order of the government or the rules of the rule or law of the land, तो situation में भी nuisance नहीं होता है. जैसे कि suppose a person has a house near a railway track. So now the trains come and the train goes. So the sound, the sound is generated, which causes disturbance to the person living nearby. So ऐसे situation में हम लोग रेलवे अथॉरिटी को न्यूसेंस के लिए लाइबल नहीं कह सकते हैं, because the railway authority is acting under the statutory provisions. So these are two differences. So I think nuisance for the purpose of a CLAT examination, nothing more, or even for specifically for AILET, nothing more should be asked beyond what we have discussed. If Harsh, you want to continue further, if there is certain doubts from anyone, then we will entertain. Otherwise, we can wind up the session.
Thank you so much, sir. You just concluded this very important topic of nuisance. You told us the definition that it's an unreasonable interference with persons' use or enjoyment of land, or some right over or in connection with that. And you explained all these points very well. What does we mean by reasonable interference? What what do we mean by when it comes down to the exceptions to the rule? How is nuisance caused? What should be kept in mind when we are determining unreasonable interference? You also talked about the very much important concept of sensitive plaintiff, which is asked quite a number of times in law entrance examinations. Or defenses were taken together also, prescriptive right and statutory right. So while giving example, you also told us what does not work as a defense is reasonable care and plaintiff coming to the nuisance and public good. So that would be all for the day, kids. So we concluded today, and thank you, Shubham sir, for taking out time for this particular session and teaching us these two important concepts of negligence and nuisance.
At the end, just I want to take this opportunity to wish all the current CLAT 2020 and AILET 2020 takers and the future CLAT aspirants all the best. Study hard and give your best shot in the examination. It is tough time because of COVID-19, and definitely there would be a lot of frustration and anxiety, but just keep on to positivities. Do not get boggled down with with as what someone else is doing. Just focus on your preparation, study well, and if there's any problem, you can get in touch with us anytime, and we'll try and help you. So all the best.
Thank you so much, sir.